So today, inshallah, we're going to talk about section 3 of the same chapter. So we're still in chapter 9, stoichiometry. We are going to pass to section 3, which we're going to talk about limiting reactants and percentage yield. So we're going to talk just about also different kinds of calculations, or how we could calculate the amount of different substances within certain chemical reaction. So actually, in the last section, we studied different calculations in which we could find the calculations in mole and ratio, okay, or something like this, okay. And then we also find the relation between mass and the moles and so on. Today, we're going to talk about new topic, which is limiting reactants and percentage. So here we have big questions. We're gonna watch a video, guys. Then by the end of the video, supposed to be or must supposed to be able to answer the following question. So first question, we're supposed to answer what is limiting reactant. Then what is the excess reactant, okay, or excess agent. This. Then here we said we're gonna how to determine the limiting reactant in a reaction. So these questions are the necessary questions that we're supposed to know in that section before we start to know how we calculate or do our calculation. So here, this part, this is the question. The questions are clear, guys. Okay, the questions are so. This is the question. Supposed to find the answer. Okay, after watching the video. So please, okay, just take a photo of these questions, or just okay, write them down on a paper or whatever to be able to answer. So let's watch the video here. Okay, guys, is it clear? Is it clear, guys, here? So I need you to just tell me regarding to what you watched. Who can tell me what is a limiting reactant? According to what you understood, okay? I don't need a scientific definition as much as what you understood, guys.
Sir, I know.
So Yusuf, Awad, okay, what about the others, guys? You could just raise your hand. Or actually, guys, you can write in chat box. Everyone, you can write what you understood in the chat box. Hurry up, guys. So in the chat, just tell me in your own words what is the limiting reactant. Okay, I'm waiting. I'm looking to the chat box, waiting for your answers, guys. Just write for everyone, okay? Not just for me. You can just write whatever. So Hassan Gouda said a reactant that is all used up, while the other, there is still more of the other reactant. Good, okay? So that's good words. Limiting is the reactant that is consumed after the chemical reaction. Completely consumed. Good. Yassine said it is the reactant that ends the reaction when it is used up. Okay, the reaction stops once it's used up. Good, okay? So you are talking about the main point, okay, which is that there is some reactant that will completely used, okay. So my question is, once this reactant completely used, it means the reaction cannot work anymore. What do you think, guys?
Mister, can you see the question again?
Again, you said, or you talk about that the reactant, the limiting reactant, it's a reactant that will completely used during a chemical reaction. Okay, so once it's completely used, this reaction cannot work anymore. What do you think, guys?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. So yes. So that means this reactant actually, once it completely used, it will produce certain amount of product, and the reaction will stop because this reactant are completely used. But if we add more of that reactant, what will happen?
The product will change.
The product will increase, or the reaction
will
will
increase.
Yeah, the reaction will resume working and it will produce more products. Yes or no?
Yes.
So limiting reactant, actually we could say that the reactant which completely used up during chemical reaction and the limit the production of products or limit the amount of products, because okay, the amount of products which are produced, that the maximum amount I can get of these limiting reactant. You get this, guys? Good idea. Let's take a simple example just to clarify if some people cannot understand the example that mentioned in the video. I'm gonna just play a little game with you. Imagine that, guys, we have about 10 bottles, okay? Okay. And we have
Yes.
6 bottle caps, okay?
Okay.
So my question, if you just have these 6 bottle caps which could fit with these bottles, so how many complete bottles could you have?
6.
Just 6, okay? So why? Because you just have about 6 bottle caps, yes or no?
Yes.
So once the bottle caps run out, could you get any more complete bottles?
No.
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 Like that, simply the bottle caps here considered as the limiting reactant, because the number of the results depend on how much is this bottle caps, not depend on the bottles, because bottles actually we still have more. So this we consider bottles are excess reactant, or we call that the reactant which is in excess, okay, or we call it the excess agent. That means I would already have salinity of it, while the other one which is limited, that one which control the amount of products, okay? So that's why we call it the limited reactant. What would happen if we just add 2 more, okay, water caps?
We'll make
There
more
will be
Just
2
bottles.
8
more
bottles.
bottles.
So I'm going to get more 2, okay, complete bottles, okay? So like this, okay, to present, or that's prove the idea that the polar caps considered to be, okay, they consider to be the limiting factor, that which that control the amount of the reactants, while the excess, okay, reactant, that the other reactant or the reactant which is already found in much amount, okay, then okay, the amount of products are reduced. Is it hard like this, guys? In hard question?
No.
So we
Thank
know
you.
what difference between limiting reactant and excess reactant, guys?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna just back to this part just to get more example to clarify the idea. So here, guys, you have your definition. So we said that the limited reactant, the reactant that limits the amount of the other reactant that can combine and the amount of product. So while the X is 1, okay, we find that the substance which is not used completely during the reaction, but this the X is reactant. So here, guys, I'm gonna say, look at this equation. I'm gonna maximize it, bigger a little. So carbon, okay, carbon reacts with oxygen to produce, okay, carbon dioxide. Okay, is it clear here, guys? Is it clear this equation? Can you see it?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes,
here
sir.
he asks, according to the equation, 1 mole of carbon produces 1 mole of carbon dioxide, and 1 mole of carbon reacts with, okay, 1 mole of oxygen. So he has just supposed that you, okay, could mix 5 mole of carbon. So let's right here. So 5 mole of carbon with 10 moles, okay, of oxygen. So what do you think? How much the results, okay, of carbon dioxide will be?
5.
It will be 5 moles of carbon dioxide. Good, okay, because just we have 5 carbons here, so we just end by 5 carbon here. So if I ask you, where is the limiting reactant in that equation, guys, or in that reaction?
Carbon.
Carbon considered as the limiting, because actually we just start by 5 carbons which are, or 5 moles of carbons which completely involved in the formation of carbon dioxide, while here I have 10 moles of oxygen and I only get 5 moles of carbon dioxide. Okay, so it means here we still have plenty of oxygen, so oxygen considered as the excess reactant. Is it clear here, guys?
Mister, can you see it again?
Again, look with me here, Hassan. In this equation,
Yes.
we said 5 carbon is going to react, 5 moles of carbon is going to react with 10 moles of oxygen, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so the available amount of carbon dioxide that will be produced, how much each carbon already produces 1 mole of carbon dioxide. So 5 moles of carbon produce how many moles of carbon dioxide?
5 carbon dioxide.
5. So like this, okay, if you are in lab and you mix it 5 moles of carbon with 10 moles of oxygen, actually the total amount of carbon dioxide that you will receive is 5 moles. Yes or no?
So the first one is the
So this
limiting
one is the
reaction.
limiting reactant. That means in the beaker or in the whatever the container that you make the reaction in, you are gonna receive 5 moles of carbon dioxide, and you are gonna still have 5 moles of oxygen that doesn't react. You get the idea?
Mr.
Okay. Yes, I
Get the
am.
idea? Yes.
Mr. ممكن again معلش.
Again, one more time. Here, look at me carefully, guys. Let's erase this and start here. We said, regarding to this equation, 1 mole of carbon produce how many mole of carbon dioxide? 1 mole of carbon produce how many mole of carbon dioxide, guys? Produces 1 mole of carbon dioxide. How could we know? Because here there is no coefficient, which means 1, and here also no coefficient, that means 1. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I said, imagine that you are in lab. Practically, you get a beaker that contains 5 moles of carbon, and a tube or another beaker that contains 10 moles of oxygen, and you mix them up to get carbon dioxide. So actually, how many moles you are gonna receive from carbon dioxide? So regarding to the equation here, 1 mole of carbon produces 1 mole of carbon dioxide. So if I have 5 mole of carbon, okay,
5.
so I'm gonna receive 5. Excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna receive 5 moles of carbon dioxide. So like that, my question: this 5 moles of carbon, they produce 5 moles of carbon dioxide, but actually the amount of oxygen, does all the amount of oxygen involved in the reaction? That means I completely used the oxygen. What do you think? Actually not, because here the carbon, the 5 carbon is the limiting factor. I used all, that means the 5 carbon already supposed to react with 5 moles of oxygen. So these 5 moles of carbon will just react with 5 moles of oxygen, and they will produce 5 moles of carbon dioxide, which means I still have 5 moles of oxygen. They doesn't react, or they don't react. So like this, the limiting reactant is the carbon, because it limits the amount of oxygen that react, and it limits the amount of carbon dioxide that is produced. You get the idea? Like the bottle cap. You get the idea, guys? You already have 10 bottles,
Yes,
but just 10 bottles caps. So, but just 6 bottle caps. So you get 6 bottles, but in the same idea here. Is it clear here, guys? Guys, is it clear?
Yes, Mr.
So
yes,
read this page very well, okay? Understand the meaning. Next time, inshallah, we're gonna learn how to calculate on equations and reactions to determine what is the limiting reactant, what is the excess reactant. I need you just to read it very carefully to start to work on problems together tomorrow. Thank you, guys, and goodbye.